What if I told you I once wore a chicken suit just to survive? Yeah, it's true. And today, I want to tell you my story. From a quiet town in Missouri to movie sets around the world. From dreaming in the dark to living in the spotlight. But more than anything, this is about what it takes to keep going when no one's watching. If you're learning English, this is for you too. Because just like acting, learning a new language takes time, heart, and patience. This story is told simply, clearly, so you can grow your English skills while following my journey. Let's get into it. Do you believe one small dream can change your whole life? I didn't know it back then, but growing up in a quiet town in Oklahoma was the first part of a much bigger story. My name is Brad, and this is how everything started. I was born in Shawnee, Oklahoma in 1963, but soon after, my family moved to Springfield, Missouri. It was a small city full of green trees and quiet streets. My dad ran a trucking company. My mom was a school counselor. We didn't have a lot, but we had enough. We had dinners together every night. We talked, we laughed. I never felt like something was missing. My childhood was simple. I wasn't rich, I wasn't famous. I was just a regular boy. I loved riding my bike around the neighborhood. I loved playing outside with my brother and sister. We used our imagination a lot. We would build forts out of cardboard boxes. We would pretend we were explorers or superheroes. Looking back now, I think those little games were my first experience with acting. But I didn't know that yet. At school, I was a pretty good student. Not the best, but I tried. I liked art class. I liked music. I even joined the debate team for a while. But sports? That was my thing. I played tennis, I played golf, and I even did a little bit of swimming. Being active made me feel free. It helped me express myself in ways I couldn't with words. But movies were something different. Every Friday night, my family would go to the local theater. The lights would go down, and suddenly, I was in another world. I watched actors on the big screen and thought, wow, look at them. They can be anything. A cowboy, a pilot, a king, a poor man, a rich man. I was amazed. But still, I didn't think about acting for myself. Not yet. My parents worked hard. They believed in education. So when I finished high school, I went to the University of Missouri. I studied journalism because I was curious about people. I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to understand the world. But something didn't feel right. Something inside me kept asking, is this it? Is this what you really want? During my college years, I started thinking more and more about movies. I started watching them not just for fun, but to learn. I noticed the way actors moved. I noticed their voices, their faces. I thought, I want to do that. I want to live 1,000 lives. But how do you tell your parents, who worked so hard for your education, that you want to leave school and move to Los Angeles to try acting? That's not an easy conversation. I didn't know how to bring it up. I was scared. I was unsure. I remember one evening, I was sitting alone in my dorm room. I was holding a flyer for an acting school in LA. My heart was beating fast. I imagined what it would be like. A new city, a new life, maybe failure, maybe success, but most of all, adventure, a chance to try. And then I made a decision. I didn't wait until graduation. I packed my old car. I told my professors I had to go. I said goodbye to my friends, and I left. It was a strange feeling, driving alone for hours, leaving behind everything I knew. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a job waiting for me. I didn't even have a place to stay for long. But I had a dream that started small, a dream that grew bigger every time I watched a film, a dream that told me, keep going. That drive was long. I remember the silence on the highway. I remember the smell of coffee from gas stations. I remember the feeling of doubt and excitement mixing together. I asked myself many times, what are you doing? But I kept driving. When I finally saw the sign that said Los Angeles, I felt something shift. I was tired, I was nervous, but I was ready. I was really here. Looking back now, that moment changed my life. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew one thing for sure. I had left home. I had said yes to a new path, and I was ready to chase the dream. That's how it all began. Not with fame, not with cameras, not with red carpets. It began with a small voice inside that said, "Try." And I listened. I arrived with a few $100s in my pocket and a suitcase full of clothes. I had no idea where to begin, but I knew I had to start somewhere. The first thing I needed was money. Acting would have to wait. I needed to survive. I took any job I could find. I drove people around. I delivered refrigerators. I handed out flyers. I even wore a chicken suit for a fast food restaurant. I stood on the street, waved at cars, and smiled through a big, hot costume. It wasn't fun, but I told myself, this is part of the journey. This is your story. Every day after work, I looked for acting classes. I used the little money I had to pay for lessons. I sat in small rooms with other students. We read scripts. We practiced emotions. We learned how to listen and speak on stage. I loved it. It felt like home. For the first time, I felt like I was doing something I was meant to do. But getting a role? That was another story. I went to auditions almost every week. I stood in long lines with other dreamers. We all wanted the same thing, a chance, just one chance. I walked into small rooms, said a few lines, and walked out. Most of the time, I heard nothing back, no call, no email, nothing. At first, it hurt. I started to wonder if I had made a mistake. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I wasn't strong enough. But then I remembered the chicken suit. If I could do that, I could handle a few rejections. So I kept going. I worked. I trained. I learned. I tried to improve. I watched other actors. I asked for advice. I didn't want to just be famous. I wanted to be good. I wanted to tell stories that meant something. After many months, I finally got small roles, a few lines in a TV show, a short scene in a movie. They weren't big parts, but they were steps forward. I was on set. I was learning. I was growing. I remember the first time I saw myself on television. It was a small moment, but my heart jumped. I thought, you're really doing it. You're not dreaming anymore. This is real. It started to feel less scary in Los Angeles. I made friends. I met other actors, writers, and teachers. We supported each other. We all knew how hard it was, but we also knew how beautiful it could be when things worked out. For a long time, I was just a guy trying to find his place. I learned that success doesn't come fast, and that's okay, because every audition, every failure, every small role, it was all part of becoming better. I learned to stay patient. I learned to keep my heart open. I learned that some of the most important lessons don't come with applause. They come with quiet work, with practice, with time. That period of my life was hard, but it was also exciting. I woke up every day knowing I was chasing something real. And even though I was still far from where I wanted to be, I knew I was moving in the right direction. Sometimes people ask me if I ever thought about quitting. Yes, I did, more than once. But each time, something small kept me going. A kind word from a teacher, a smile from a friend, a short role that gave me hope. Those small things kept my dream alive. So I stayed. I kept working. And slowly, something began to change. People started to remember me. Directors called me back. I began to feel more comfortable in front of the camera. I started to believe maybe this could really happen. That belief, that small spark, was the beginning of something bigger. But I didn't know it yet. Not then. All I knew was I was doing what I loved, and that was enough to keep going. I still remember the day everything changed. It started like any other day. I woke up in my small apartment. The walls were thin, and I could hear my neighbor's alarm clock. I made a cheap cup of coffee and read through a few old scripts. I had an audition that afternoon, just one of many. I didn't think much of it. The role was small, a guy in a road movie, just a few lines. But something felt different that day. Maybe it was the way the sun hit the city. Maybe it was the way I felt when I looked in the mirror. I told myself, give it everything. So I did. I walked into the audition room and met the director. We talked for a minute. Then I read the lines. I tried not to act. I just tried to be real. I didn't know if it was good or bad. I walked out, got in my car, and went back to work. A week later, I got the call. They wanted me for the part. The movie was called Thelma and Louise. I didn't have a big role, but it was important. I played a young man named JD, a charming thief. It was a short part, but it stood out. I didn't know it then, but that short role would change everything. When the movie came out, people started noticing me. Suddenly, casting agents were calling. Directors wanted to meet. Producers knew my name. It felt strange. I had spent years in the shadows, working, waiting, hoping, and now, in just a few minutes on screen, the door opened. But here's the truth. That moment didn't come from luck. It came from every hard job, every failed audition, every acting class I ever took. It came from all the nights I stayed up practicing. That one small part was built on years of effort. After Thelma and Louise, I started getting more roles, bigger roles. I worked in different kinds of films, dramas, thrillers, even some comedies. Each one taught me something new. I was learning to trust myself. I was learning how to disappear into a character. But success also came with pressure. People had expectations. They looked at me differently. I wasn't just another actor anymore. I was a name. And with that name came attention. Some good, some not so good. I tried to stay focused. I reminded myself why I started. I didn't want to be famous. I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to move people. One thing I noticed was how important it was to stay grounded. Fame can be loud. It can be confusing. But I remembered my roots. I remembered Springfield. I remembered the boy who rode his bike through the neighborhood and dreamed big dreams. So I stayed close to people who knew me before the spotlight. I stayed connected to the work. I tried to stay curious. I didn't say yes to every role. I waited for stories that made me feel something. Stories that challenged me. Stories that scared me a little. Some movies worked. Some didn't. That's part of the game. You try, you learn, you grow. One of the films that meant a lot to me was A River Runs Through It. It was quiet, beautiful, and full of emotion. I played a young man trying to find his place in the world. In many ways, that was still me, still searching, still learning. The more I acted, the more I realized how powerful stories can be. They help people feel, they help people heal, and they help us understand each other. I didn't become a star because of one role. I became an actor because I kept going, because I cared, because I believed that even a small part could make a big difference. And that belief, it started long before Thelma and Louise. It started in a small town, in a small boy's heart. That boy never gave up, and he never will. Success came slowly, but when it came strong. After Thelma and Louise, I was offered more scripts than ever before. Some were exciting, some were not. But all of them were a sign that people were watching. I wanted to make smart choices. I didn't want to just be the good-looking guy on screen. I wanted to go deeper. I wanted roles that had meaning. That's when I found a project that felt different. Legends of the Fall. It was a powerful story about family, love, and loss. I played a character named Tristan. He was wild. He was broken. He was full of pain and passion. It wasn't easy, but it challenged me. It pushed me to grow. That film changed how people saw me. They didn't just see a face anymore. They saw someone who could carry a story, someone who had something to say. From there, more doors opened. I worked with amazing directors. I stood beside actors I had admired for years. Each film became a new chance to explore a different side of life. Then came Seven, That film was dark. It was intense. I played a detective trying to catch a serial killer. It was one of the hardest roles I had done at that point. But it was also one of the most rewarding. It taught me how to stay focused in difficult moments, how to let the story take over. People started talking, not just about the movies, but about the work, and that meant everything to me. Not long after, I did Fight Club. That film was unlike anything I had ever done. It was bold, it was strange, it was powerful. Some people didn't understand it at first, but over time, it became a cult classic. Even today, people come up to me and talk about it. I play Tyler Durden, a man full of anger, ideas, and wild energy. That role was risky, but sometimes you have to take risks. That's how you grow. That's how you find truth. By now, I was known around the world. People recognized me on the street. Cameras followed me. Headlines talked about me. Some true, some not. Fame had become part of my life. But I never wanted it to control me, so I stayed focused on the work, on the craft. I kept asking, what story can I tell next? What can I learn from it? One of the things I learned was the power of silence. Some roles didn't need big speeches. They needed presence. They needed emotion behind the eyes. I started to trust that less could be more. That idea led me to films like The Assassination of Jesse James and Tree of Life. These weren't loud films. They were soft, thoughtful, beautiful in their own way. They helped me grow not just as an actor, but as a person. In between, I started producing films too. I wanted to help other stories come to life. Stories that mattered. Stories that needed a voice. And even with all the fame, all the awards, I kept going back to one simple thing. Do I believe in the story? Because that's where it starts, with belief, with heart, with something real inside you. I never forgot that boy in Missouri, the one who watched movies with wide eyes, who dreamed of being someone else just for a while. That dream was still with me, still guiding me. And every time I stood on set, I felt thankful. Thankful that I listened to that small voice. Thankful that I didn't give up. The world knew my name now. But I knew something more important. I knew who I was becoming, and I was just getting started. As the years passed, my career kept growing. I had the chance to play so many different people. A warrior in Troy, a curious man aging backwards in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, a soldier in Inglorious Bastards, a baseball manager in Moneyball. Each role taught me something new. Not just about acting, but about life. And life outside of the camera was teaching me too. Fame is a strange thing. It gives you everything you thought you wanted, but it also takes. It takes your privacy. It takes your quiet moments. People think they know you just because they've seen your face on a screen, but they don't see the real work. They don't see the pain, the doubts, the pressure. I had to learn how to stay grounded. I had to find peace in small things. A walk in the morning, a call with an old friend, time alone to think. That's why I started to care more about balance, about using my voice for something bigger than movies. I began to work with charities. I traveled. I saw people living in pain, people who didn't have a home or clean water. I realized how lucky I was, and I knew I had to help. One of the things I'm proudest of is the work I did after Hurricane Katrina. We built homes in New Orleans, strong homes, safe homes, for families who had lost everything. I didn't want it to be just a gesture. I wanted it to be real change. That project taught me something important. Success isn't just about what you get, it's about what you give. As I got older, I also started thinking more about the kind of legacy I wanted to leave. What kind of stories did I want people to remember? What kind of person did I want to be? I didn't always get it right. I made mistakes. I had hard times, but I tried to grow. I tried to learn. One thing I've learned is that real strength comes from being honest with others and with yourself. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is say, I need help. I've had those moments. I've faced loss. I've faced change. I've had to let go of some things I loved. But I've also gained wisdom, compassion, gratitude. It's easy to think life is all about winning, about being the best. But for me, the most important thing is becoming whole. That's why I started choosing different roles. Roles that weren't always heroes. Roles that were flawed, human, real. I think people connect more with truth than with perfection. They want to see someone struggle, someone rise, someone fall, and get back up. Because that's life. That's all of us. When I did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I felt something full circle. I was playing a stuntman, a man who stood in the background, who helped others shine, but who had his own story, his own heart. That role meant a lot to me. It felt like a quiet tribute to every person who had helped me get where I am. And when I won the Oscar for it, it was emotional. Not because of the trophy, but because of the journey, because of everything that came before it. I thought about the long drives, the auditions, the failures, the little wins, the hard lessons, all of it. That moment wasn't just mine. It belonged to every version of me that kept going. To be honest, I don't think the best part of life is standing on a stage. I think the best part is sitting with someone who really knows you, laughing, talking, being real. And if I've learned anything, it's this. You can chase big dreams. You can reach high places, but never forget where you started. Never forget what matters most. Kindness, curiosity, courage. That's the real win. And I'm still learning every day. Sometimes people ask me, what's the most inspiring part of your story? And I always say, it's not one moment. It's not one film. It's not an award or a headline. It's the journey itself. The slow, quiet steps. The times when no one was watching. The times I failed and still got up. I think a lot about that young man driving into Los Angeles. No plan, no map, just a dream. He didn't know where he was going, but he believed something was waiting, and that belief carried him. I want people to understand something. You don't need to be perfect to chase a dream. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to start. You need to try. And when you fall, you need to get back up. Because every step you take, even the hard ones, even the quiet ones, they matter. There were so many times I felt lost. There were days I doubted everything, but I kept going because the dream was still alive in me. It wasn't about being famous. It was about doing something I loved, something that made me feel alive. That's what I want others to feel, not just in acting, but in anything. Whether it's painting, teaching, building, helping others, whatever your dream is, it's real, and it's worth fighting for. When I look back now, I see that all the challenges shaped me. The chicken suit, the rejections, the heartbreaks, the long days on set, the late nights learning lines. They made me stronger. They taught me patience, humility, grit. And I learned that the most inspiring stories are the ones we live, not the ones we tell. You don't need a big moment to be proud. You can be proud of trying, of showing up, of working hard when no one claps for you. If you're learning English right now, or working on something that feels slow or hard, I get it. I've been there. And I want you to know, every small step counts. Every small win is a step forward. Success doesn't always look shiny. Sometimes it looks like showing up tired, studying one more word, repeating the same line until you get it right. That's success too. You're writing your story right now, and it matters. If I could go back and talk to my younger self, I'd say this: you don't have to be the best today, just be better than you were yesterday, and never stop believing in the road ahead. Because belief is powerful. Belief keeps you going when nothing else does. And if you believe in yourself, really believe, even a small dream can grow into something bigger than you ever imagined. I'm still on that journey, still learning, still growing. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Success is not a place. It's not a moment. It's a way of living. It's how you show up every day. It's how you treat people. It's how true you are to yourself. So wherever you are right now, whatever you're working on, keep going, keep learning, keep dreaming. Because your story matters. And it's just getting started. So that's my story, at least a part of it. I hope it reminded you that dreams don't happen overnight. They take years, fails, doubts. But if you keep showing up every day, step by step, you get there. If you're learning English, keep going. Every word you learn, every story you listen to, it all matters. Trust me, I know what it's like to start from scratch. Tell me in the comments, what part of my story inspired you most? I'd love to hear it. And hey, if you like this, show some love. Like, subscribe, and stay with LangFAQ for more stories that teach and inspire. You're doing great. Keep listening. Keep learning. I'll see you in the next one.